Hey everybody, welcome back to Author Eke. Today I have Joseph Baskin. We share publishers, and I'm going to tell him about his new book, introduce himself, and you know how Author Eke goes. Well, who knows where it goes? So, Joseph, go ahead and take it away. Introduce yourself and tell us about your book.
All right. Appreciate you having me on. So again, Joseph Baskin. I am a psychiatrist, um, forensically trained, meaning I do work in jails and prisons, and right now I'm working in a jail. I publishing a book with Defiance. Very excited. It's called Burning River. It's my first in a horror genre, horror supernatural, although it's more what I've heard is termed naturalistic.
Mhm.
It's not my first novel. It's my fifth novel, actually. And usually I write things that are more on the humor / dark comedy thriller side of things. But
Mhm.
this one came from a different place. And so I wrote it from a different place.
Excellent, excellent. So, what's the name of it?
Burning River. Burning River. So
Burning River.
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and we are
Okay.
best known for the Cuyahoga
Yes.
caught on fire in the 70s due to all
Yeah.
sorts of dumpage and things of that nature. So it's a little bit of a play on that because it takes place in Cleveland. But
So it's important to what he just said. He works in the prison. He's
in
not
jail.
in jail.
Yes.
He's not
Yes.
there because involuntarily he's there because that's his profession.
Correct.
So how long you been doing
Correct.
that? How long you been working in the correction system?
So I graduated from residency back in 2005, and my first job out of residency was in a prison in Boston, just outside of Boston, called Bridgewater State Hospital. An old movie in the 60s called Titicut Follies, which is about prison psychiatric hospitals, pretty jarring, footage that they have from the 60s about how they were treated, this and that. I worked there. Interesting
Okay.
place because they took people off the street as well as they took people from Supermax, and they'd all be mixed in the same place.
Oh my
so
goodness.
it's a great first job. Hard to chase that. I did
Right.
other stuff in the between. About 12 years I was working just in general. I worked for Ohio State University, then I worked for the Cleveland Clinic here in Cleveland.
Okay.
And then I came to the jail in August of 2019. So
Okay.
jail and prison, right? Jail is pre-sentencing detention, meaning these are all theoretically innocent until proven guilty. Right?
Okay.
Whereas in prison, they've already been sentenced. They are sent out to prison. So it's a very different population. Here, it's a very acute, lots of drugs, lots of psychosis, meaning crazy, lots of mania, lots of very interesting people. I like it very much. And if you allow me, so this building was built in the 70s, and I like to say that it was built old. You know what I mean? It was already old when they opened it, right? One of those justice centers that they built.
Yeah.
And it's got elevators that in some ways they operate independently of buttons or anything like that. And I was getting into one of these elevators, and it's a very unusual elevator. It's got the front part is, about 6 feet tall, that kind of thing. But the back part, the last 4 feet, is about 10 feet tall. Sort of like if you wanted to wedge in furniture or something, you'd use this.
I have never ever seen an elevator like that.
It's a bizarre elevator, and I got to thinking that this elevator has a mind of its own, a la Stephen King. It's going to do what it wants. And from there, I got the idea for the novel. It developed from there, but sometimes those little germs, those little things, they can turn into something, So what if this was an elevator that had a mind of its own? And
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
excellent. Go ahead.
No. That was just kind of the germ of the idea. Then the story is really about a guy, and because I'm a psychiatrist, I'm always interested in how people change. Are we capable of changing? What's the bake? The cake is baked. Can we really change who we are? Because it's everybody goes through this, especially the older we get. So this guy, so the protagonist, his name is Frank Wills, right? He's done Iraq, right? He's a combat veteran in Iraq in the Marines. He comes back, and the story begins where he's not successful, right? He's separated from his wife. He can't hold down a job. He's one of these guys, every job he goes to, he's great right up off the gates. And then after about 2-3 months, he starts telling them what they're doing wrong. And it's, the bloom comes off the rose, right? And so then they start to, they separate after 4 months. And he feels that they're a shit organization, pardon my French. They're the problems. They're the reasons that things went bad. And they just what happened, right? What blew up?
Right,
so
right.
He's in that place. And it goes from there. What would it take to really make a change to that? And he ends up in a, without being giving too much away, he ends up in an otherworldly type of prison. where he has to navigate through a lot of different scenarios, sort of a Dante's Inferno, a modern day Dante's Inferno. He has to navigate a lot of different things in order to find his way out.
Mm-hmm.
But in that process, he's a man. He's one of these guys where the immovable object, nothing's going to stand in his way, right? What happens when he meets that unyielding force and he has to bowl his way through? Does he learn from it? Does he not learn from it? That was really the essence of the story.
Interesting. I'm still kind of hooked on that elevator. I mean,
Right.
that is bizarre. Then it has a mind of its own, so it can go wherever it wants to go, or take you wherever it wants to take you.
Correct. You press 4, maybe you go up, maybe you go down.
Right. Oh, interesting. So, do any of the characters come out of interactions with other people where you work?
Absolutely. Okay. Not nothing specific, meaning, but
right.
But there's so the way that it's phrased here is there's pods, right? Different pods of guys, right? And women. We have women too. And there are pods where there's more aggressive people. There's pods where there are more drug addicts, things of that nature. And there's certain typesets. There's certain archetypes that come out of it. And from there, I draw some characters, some people who interest me. There's endless supply of interesting people here, especially in a jail, prison too. But in jail, it's they're really coming right off the street.
Yeah,
they're acclimating. So much has happened to them. They're really in what's called psychological shock. Right? They're just trying to figure things out. 2 seconds ago, they're on the street. Who knows what happened? It could be extremely violent. It could be drug related. It could be who knows. And now they're in a place where they're confined. Their control is taken from them. It's really ripe. It's rich of material,
right?
Of human material, I would say.
Wow, that's amazing. So, this is your first book in this genre. What did
Correct.
you write before?
So the first
book humor stuff.
Yeah, the first book I wrote was about. So I'm a psychiatrist. So I wrote about a young psychiatrist, working in a prison who gets bamboozled by a wizened gang leader to try to break him free from the prison, right? And so he's got he's got like the Alan Alda type character, right? He's bright, but he thinks he's smarter than everybody else. He's got a bit of a wise ass, and so it's him going through that process. What's that like for him? He's got a gambling problem. There's all sorts of things. The second book I wrote was a little more personal. It was about how a therapist handles suicide, right? So it's a psychiatrist who moves to a small town, and he gets embroiled in a wealthy family's, all their politics. So it's more of a mystery whodunit kind of thing, with a twist. And again, also, I always have an eye for tragedy, human tragedy, but the humorous side of it, not as a way of making it, as lessening it, but more the black comedy kind of help us cope with what is always a difficult situation, especially suicide in a family member, that kind of thing. But it's that second one, it's called Exit Strategy. That was a real personal for me. And it's more like a mystery, like an Alfred Hitchcock, wrong man, wrong place, that kind of thing. Because he finds himself just being accused of all sorts of things, and he's really just trying to handle all these losses that he's experienced in his own practice. I revisited the first character. So the character who's the psychiatrist, his name is Jojo Black. And I was living in Boston at the time, and there was a basketball player by the name of Jojo White. So I like that dichotomy. But Jojo Black moves to Vegas, and he becomes an in-house psychiatrist for a Vegas casino in the third book I wrote called Kilimanjaro. And that's really just it's a look at family dynamics in a casino that's going under, but also looking at a transition from the father to the sons. And it's the casino. I modeled it after the casino where Elvis did where he stayed, where he laid his head back in the 70s. And so a little bit of play on that, on Elvis, and what it's like to be in Vegas, and things like that. And then the last one I wrote before this was called Dr. Zhulik, and this was Zhulik is a Russian word for like a wise guy, that kind of thing. Not in the criminal thing, but more like the style, the character. Yeah. So it's a surgical intern in a county hospital who sees that things work that if you grease wheels in a county hospital, like in socialized medicine, you can make things happen. So he develops a cash clinic for gangs. So if you have trauma, you can get in easier, and and
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's almost like that kid who doesn't want to pay his dues. He just wants to jump the line. He wants to be become big shot, and he gets way in over his head. And I like that theme, by the way. That's a theme I have in a couple
Right.
of my books, where somebody thinks it's almost like that Rushmore from Wes Anderson, where they
Mhm.
think that they're more than they are, and so so in Kilimanjaro, they plot to undo the Super Bowl, to somehow game the Super Bowl. This is back in the, I said it in two different times, when the Patriots played the Giants the first time and when the
Uh-huh.
Patriots played the Giants the second time. And so they're trying to
Okay.
game the system by influencing one of the players, but it's a harebrained scheme. It's never has a chance to succeed. I mean, the NFL is a huge organization. They
Oh
they
yeah.
see they see things like this coming a million miles away. But this is delusions of grandeur that I like those kinds of things. I like people who have delusions of grandeur, who try. And
Right, right. Excellent, excellent. So when you find time to write, I mean, it's got to be your hours have got to be just kind of crazy, or on call or whatever,
it's
right?
it's been so I have four kids, and
Yeah.
when they were
Wow.
younger, I'd put them to bed and then I'd write.
Mhm.
Now they're older, they're teens, and so they need time. It's nights and weekends, whenever I can find the time. But it's never
Okay.
enough. It's never enough. It's like I get built up. I get more irritable. I get more until I put things on paper, so to speak.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So you're with Defiance Press.
Yes,
When does the book come out?
May 7th,
May 7th. That's just right around the corner.
4 weeks, 4 weeks from today.
Man. Yeah, yeah. That's right around the corner. Excellent, excellent. So you write, you got four kids, you work in a jail. What else? I mean, what else do you have time to do?
I got three dogs
Three dogs,
because
though. Okay, that
because
adds up.
because I'm
I got
insane.
one.
Yeah. Well, we started with one, and then we had a real difficult time finding a second one. We thought the first one needed a. My wife's a physician too, so we're not at home that much. We thought they needed a friend. That many different iterations and
Right.
lack of successes. Then we got a second one, and then my oldest daughter went. She left the house. She's 18. She left the house, and I went briefly psychotic, and I got a third dog to replace her. So,
I know
and
how you
it's
feel.
it's a golden retriever, and
Okay.
and they're just he's 70 pounds of energy, and he's just destructive, and a lot of fun.
Yeah. When my son went in the army, because I was home, I worked from home, so I was home all the time. Right. And I saw him every day. And then when he went in the army, he wasn't there that day. That next day, I'm like, man, I am like, I'm lost. From the,
Is
from
that
a
was
friend
that
perspective.
you were also in the military?
I was, so I knew what he was going through. So that kind of made me feel pretty good.
So he went into the army.
He did. Yeah, he's out now. But yeah, um, so I was like, the same thing. I was like, man, what am I going to do all day? I mean, who am I going to go to lunch with, or who am I going to bother? Who's going to bother me? So that was pretty nice. So, do you have another book you want to write after this, or is this on a series, or how's this going to work?
It's not on a series. I guess I'm not really much of a series guy. I do have other things I'm working on because there's always ideas percolating.
Mhm.
It's just again making that
Right,
time.
it is tough. So, how do you plan? When I write, I don't necessarily say I want to write so many words. If I start a chapter, I want to finish it, or sometimes I'll say, okay, hey, I want to write 1,000 words today, or because I need to catch up, or a lot of times I'll just say, I need to be done by this date. How am I going to do that? And then backward plan.
Right. That's a smarter way to do it. I'm catch as catch can, and that's not a smart way to do it. Sometimes it's the scene is bursting to get out, and
Hmm.
sometimes I'm sitting there and I just I do my best to get something done, and I depending on the lateness of the hour, I tell myself, yeah, what, that's enough. That's enough for
Right.
today. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm more of a morning writer because by the end of the day, I'm just like Jello. I'm like, okay, I just want to sit back and watch a monk or something and see how, you know, see somebody that's really on the spectrum, how he's operating, coping through life. That's a great show, by the way. I just started watching. It's a great show.
That's Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when he's a detective.
yeah, yeah.
He's out there.
He's
He's
a very good actor.
excellent, excellent. So how do you build your characters? You sit down and say, okay, this is somebody. He looks like this, or she looks like this, and characteristics, or what's unique about each one of them? Is there something peculiar about each of the characters?
So in Burning River, the main character, obviously, I gave the most thought to, but the other characters that I wanted that to be important, I did. I developed some ideas, some backstories. I put them in there, but it's a physicality of them, how they
Mm-hmm.
present themselves, their speech
Mm-hmm.
patterns. That's not always easy to convey, right? The speech
Yes.
patterns. One of the characters I have is Puerto Rican, and he has there's a certain confidence that just comes through with his speech, his style,
Mm-hmm.
and interestingly for the story, he's a criminal, right? The main character is not a criminal. The main character is a guy who is going through it, right? He's having a
Mm-hmm.
difficult time finding himself. The other characters are criminals, right?
Right.
In the classic sense that they've committed crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And this character is more comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is more so than the protagonist, more than the main character who's still trying to find his way through. And I like that about some of these characters. They know who they are. They know why they're there, what they're doing.
Right.
Um,
So that's one thing, when you do a series, is how much of that character do you describe in the second book or the third book? Because you don't want to. Someone that's read, the first, the second, year to the third, you don't have to
mhm.
describe every character again. They're just okay. That's just wasted time and space, and you're just putting a lot of words in there for nothing. Do you outline or do you just pants it?
Both, both.
Okay.
With Burning River, it was extensive outlining.
Okay.
Extensive outlining. With some of the other ones, it's just pants it because I liked the idea of seeing how things go, and you never know how it's going to go. You start off, and it can go in different places. But um, I read a lot about writing, as I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
do, and it's always you would never build a house without a blueprint. And I always think, well, part of me's Amish, so what the hell? Maybe I would. You know what I mean? In other
Maybe I'll.
words, yeah, I mean, but it's true. It's true because the problem is you go off on a tangent, and you get to a place and you're like, shit, how do I reconcile all that? How do I make
Yeah.
this work so that it's because it can drive you nuts. And
Yeah.
then how do I make it so that it's original, and then I'm not retreading my own work or someone else's work or something I
Mm.
saw in a movie? It's hard.
That's
That's
tough.
yeah.
That's tough. I mean, there's a lot of movies been made, and there's a lot of books been written.
Yes.
So you try to do, I guess the catch is I don't. I'm a pantser per se. I might have things that I want to put in the book, right? That I want to make sure where do I put them and everything. But typically, I'll just start writing, or I'll have an idea and I'll start writing on that idea. And I've got, probably 10, 15 books with, 5 pages written of each of them, and just you come to a certain point, and go, okay, I don't like that. I'm going to do something else, or I'll do a timeline when I do the books. Where am I at in the timeline of the book of
Nice.
this of the scene and the characters and things like that? Because I have no formal upbringing in writing or education in writing at all. That's probably
Nice.
evident.
That's the best part. How did you get into this? The interviewing of people.
Well, so when I wrote my first book, I knew nothing about it, and I didn't, you know, my first misconception of the author community was I'm not going to share my book with anybody until it's done, and I'm not going to let them read it until it's published. Bad idea. We are not competing against each other, even if we're writing the same genre, right? There's a lot, people aren't going to read just one book. People buy multiple books. So that was the first mistake I made, was not doing that. Now I do that, right? I do that on X, Facebook, whatever. I get out there. I meet a lot of different authors, different thrillers, espionage, whatever, romance, whatever. But then in the process of then getting my book done and getting it out into the world, I'm like, there's so much that I don't know that it would be good to interview people that maybe have done it and help people like me understand some of the obstacles of getting a book published. Or you think, okay, I write a book and that's it. That's not it. That's just the beginning, right?
And you found a
There's
lot of gracious people.
oh my goodness, yes, unbelievable. Oh yeah, definitely a lot of folks say, you know what, yeah, send me, let me read it, give you honest critique about it. uh and the big thing is getting reviews before the
Right.
book's out, so when that book does hit, the reviews out there. You can't review a book on Amazon until the book is published, but you can on Goodreads. So people can read a ACR copy of it and then post a review of the book in there on Goodreads. So that's good. Or if you get them early enough, you put them on the back cover.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I made all those same mistakes.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it. Then the next is, so I always equate a book as a pie, right? You credit in threes. You got the writing aspect of it, so that's the book. Then you've got the proofreading, the editing, the business part of it, and then the marketing. And the marketing is maybe a bigger piece of the pie because that's ongoing. You write the book,
Right.
it's done, right? The marketing is always happening. So that was probably the hardest part. How do you market? You only have a finite amount of dollars. Is it Facebook? Is it X? Is it doing giveaways? Is it other promotions through Goodreads or a book siren or wherever, right? And so that's what I want to learn. And then by reaching out to people and asking them questions, and interviewing them, I got, what's a good way to do it based on folks that have been very, very successful. Because it's, and again, it's not, everybody's like, oh yeah, and you could be writing the same genre as me, the same everything, and there's enough readers for everybody,
Right.
right? And that's the good thing.
And there's demand.
Yes.
There's always demand for quality and time.
Yeah.
The Rolling
Yeah.
Stones and the Beatles coexisted. So
Exactly. Yeah. And then the people had people and they had crap, and the dung beetle just rolled it up, and so yeah. So that's that's why I started the podcast, and I've done probably 70 interviews in the last couple years. Now, I took a break from it for a while, and then I, got back into it pretty heavily. So yeah, and then I just put it out and let folks, they can take nuggets out of it. So my thing is just to help authors, visibility of the author, because nobody knows Travis Davis, very few people, right? Um, and I was in a whole nother profession. I was in technology and uh, network architecture and security, and going about writing a book, right? And I've only been writing for 2 years.
do you write about
So
that, about network security?
no, there's some. My first book, Flames of Deception, was more around geospatial imagery, intelligence, and espionage, and some cyber warfare from China and things like that. And then the second one was more of China's always a villain. It's an easy one to do, right? And it's more around renewable energy, a cabal trying to take over the world, and some, rogue Chinese military and some very rich people.
How do
And
you
then,
how do you research that?
oh my goodness, that is a lot of research. And you hit a
I'm
good
sure,
point. It's fiction, but
but
you
you
have to
got
make the
to
fiction readable enough
right,
or authentic enough where they go, yay, and or they read it today and 2 years later, that's the technology.
right, right. The Michael
So
Crichton type stuff.
yeah, I do a tremendous amount of research
I'm sure.
on uh, on that. And then the third book I just finished was a historical World War I fiction. So I
Wow.
just
On that,
it's called One of Four,
that's yeah.
and it's
It's behind you.
yeah. It comes out here soon, um, and it's more of an idea that I had, and I felt compelled to write it. I've actually felt I had to write it, and it's an account of a World War I unknown soldier, as told through a father and son who are in Paris, find it accidentally in a Bible hidden, and they're in Paris because their relationship is strained, and they have to come back and bond together as a family, as a father son from a divorce. And they read the Bible, they read that diary of this unknown soldier,
French soldier, American soldier.
American soldier, and it takes them from the harbors of New York to the battlefields of Western France, Western Front, all the way back to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery.
Nice.
So that's what's kind of yeah. And to me, it's almost very emotionally for me to talk about, or even when I wrote it. So I don't know why. It just is.
Those
Or was.
those are good moments though. Those are
Yeah.
good
Oh, yeah.
when you feel compelled to put something down.
Mhm.
Um,
And that took a
those
lot
are,
of research. I mean, World
I'm
War One. You
sure.
got to. I'll tell you, if you ever do like historical fiction, you better whatever you put in there better be the time period.
Right. Right.
Even though it's historical fiction, right? It's got to be equipment, weapons, and things. So that was I love doing research. So I'm looking at maybe writing another one of those. I kind of get into the historical fiction type
World War
genre.
Two,
This could be another World War One.
another World War One.
Yeah,
You
because as
like
you
World War One,
read, it's just fascinating. Because if you look at the world today, it was created out of World War One.
right?
When you look at World War Two, genesis of World War One, because Hitler thought that the Germans were being taken advantage of in the armistice, right?
Right. Then.
Or you look at how the Middle East was broken up and how
Right.
England got a lot of property, Iraq, Iran, all these places that were never a country, and more
Right.
tribalism, and then they created a country. Now look, it is still
Right.
tribalism.
Right.
And so that modern warfare, right? The machine gun, gas, uh, the trench coat, trench foot, Halloween where we give candy.
That's from World War One. The
Yeah,
candy.
because so candy they had Halloween, but it was never really about candy. And in World War One, they had to find a way to give quick, immediate nourishment or energy to the soldiers. So candy bars, sugar, and then out of that became trick or treat and give chocolate away after that because they like chocolate. Who doesn't?
Yeah, the Hershey bar.
Yeah. And then when you do research of that, you find things that are like I didn't know. I didn't know that uh, Germany was trying to get an agreement with Mexico to invade the United States, and Germany already told them what states they could have because if they opened a southern front, the United States couldn't send the small army that it had to Europe, or that we invaded Russia in 1918, 500 miles north of Moscow.
Did not know that. Why did we
Yeah,
invade Russia?
to help at the bequest the British. And I think British and French maybe about finding some Czechoslovakian ammunition and weapons that was they wouldn't get in the hands of the Bolsheviks. So like that's interesting.
And how most of the aristocracy was related throughout all of Europe. I
Yeah,
always found that very interesting.
yeah.
Queen
Even
Victoria's kids and
the
such.
Tsar,
Yeah.
and then even in World War II. Well, Queen Elizabeth's husband, if I'm not mistaken, he
Philip.
was from Greece,
Yes.
but he had, I think, him or somebody had relatives in Germany back in
Yeah.
back then. Some
His sisters were married to
or
Nazis.
the other king or queen or somebody. I
Yeah.
know it all goes back. My wife is from Germany, and the town she lives in is Coburg, and uh, Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, is from there.
Wow.
So she's all into this. That whole
It's
monarchy thing.
fascinating. It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it is. So that's World War One is kind of interesting and about that
I keep trying
aspect
to
of it.
read The Guns of August by
Mm-hmm.
Tuckman.
Yep.
But it's a great time period. I love
Yep.
World War II.
Yeah, I do too. My dad was like a historian, high school dropout that could tell you anything about
Right.
World War II because he wrote it ferociously or read about it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, amazing, amazing. So, tell us a little bit about, you know, you tell us about kind of your writing style. Do you write? Does it have to be like deathly quiet? Does it have to be ambient noise? Do you do it with music?
I do it with
What's your
I,
environment?
so I do it with music,
Hmm.
and the best thing is when the music fades away, right? And
Ah,
I'm so into what I'm doing, and sometimes I'll put something on a loop just to have it
hmm,
in my ear,
yeah.
and sometimes I have to turn the music off because I can't think of the right word, and it's driving me nuts, and I have no distractions. It
Is there
really
certain
depends.
music, or is it
All types of music. I mean, I'm a classic rock fan, but
awesome?
I'll listen to classical music. I'll listen to jazz. I'll listen to a lot of different things.
I like to write in the morning, and I live in Texas, so in the summer it's nice and well, it's all nice almost all year long. And I like to sit out, I like to exercise, stay in shape. So I'll go, do a walk or go to the gym and then come back and sit outside by the pool and write with music playing.
Were you
You
in
know,
line for the eclipse yesterday?
yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I was in the backyard. Yep,
I was.
it was a
Yeah,
little cloudy, but it was cool.
I'm 1,500 miles north, and I was in the same position.
So you guys
right
get
outside the back. Yeah,
total.
total
Yeah,
eclipse.
that was it was. I wish it would have been clearer, but it was amazing how cool it got.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I bet it
Yeah.
dropped 10, 15, 20 degrees
Same
like
thing here. It was about 70
quickly.
degrees. I was sweating, and then it went real cold.
Yep.
I was disappointed though. I was hoping like animals would go nuts. I was hoping that cats would be chasing dogs,
Uh,
lions would be lying with lambs, something like
yeah.
that. But it wasn't that dramatic. But it was very
Huh.
cool.
Yeah, I'm glad. I kept my dog inside. I didn't want him to freak out or nothing. She has enough energy. She's a 7-month-old lab pointer mix from the pound,
How
and
big?
she uh right now she's 7 months and she's almost 46 pounds.
She'll get
And
bigger.
yeah, well, we got her when she was 20. We've had her for
Nice.
3 months, and she is a cat. I mean, a money pit. I had to take her to the vet 3 times. 'Cause it's like my kid right now.
Right.
Being the wife and they're empty nesters. I have a dog,
They
so I'm
know
not
it, by the
empty
way. The
anymore.
vets know it. They know it. They know you'll pay whatever they ask.
Oh yeah, I would. I'd even. It's not like I'm haggling for a car. So you know what? Don't do that, and I'll take 20 off it. I'm not trying.
I
I'm not
had my
trying to
dogs
barter.
outside yesterday during the eclipse,
Hmm.
and that would have been fine, except some knucklehead decided that the eclipse wasn't enough, so they blew off some fireworks. And that sent them a little,
Are you
that made
kidding?
it, no, no. Hey, whatever. That's the way it is. I think Ohio's trying to
Gee,
replace Florida for the, like Ohio man. But I don't know. That's unofficial. Florida man's
wow,
still number one.
man, that is. Why would somebody do that? It's not like 4th of July or New
Right.
Year's Eve. It's
It's
something
eclipse.
it's almost biblical when you think about it,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes. Cosmic. Agree.
yeah, that's it's just not like somebody put their hand in front of your face. Oh, look at a solar eclipse. But yeah, it was definitely interesting, and they had it hyped up. And I'm like, okay, what do they know that they're not telling us? Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but is there a big rock behind it or something? I mean, hurling toward us? I don't know. So tell us where everybody can get a hold of you and your books.
So the book is going to be on Amazon. I'm going to have a website, josephbaskin.com. I'm really working on that right now.
Okay.
Um, I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. I'm on.
We need to connect on X then. We need to link up
Right.
on X.
Yes,
Introduce a lot of
I'm
these
just.
authors out
I
there.
gotta tell you, a psychiatrist on social media is not a great thing. So when I became a psychiatrist, I was on social media briefly, and then I withdrew. I try to manage as best I can.
Yeah.
I'm one of these older, older. I'm telling you, I'm older, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I keep to myself. I'm not a big self promoter. I'm not I'm not into proving that I did something, but
Right.
having it on Facebook. So
Right. Yeah,
I
you
got
got
to
to do
get,
that. I mean,
I
for
got
the
to get
book
better
tour.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been
Yep.
hitting my kids up, and of course they're
Oh,
avoiding
they
me.
know how.
Oh,
I
they
mean, I
know how.
guarantee you
That's why
know how.
that's why they're avoiding me.
My son's 27. He's like, "Hey, Dad, let me take over all your TikTok and everything accounts." I'm like,
TikTok. I don't even
I
have
said,
TikTok, but
I'm not going to pay you. This is my first.
where does he live?
He lives in Northern Virginia. He works for the intelligence community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he get home a lot or not so much?
Well, he's been home last year, but we get to DC probably 3 or 4 times a year
Nice.
because a lot of what I write about it happens there, and I do research.
Nice.
We're going next week, and I'm going to stop by the 3rd Infantry Old Guard and give them a copy of the book because I dedicate it to the sentinels that guard the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
That's very nice.
So
When does it come out?
early May 1st.
Nice.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty excited about that. So we get out there all the time, or we'll meet him in Germany or somewhere. It's crazy.
Is he still active duty or is he?
No, he's
That's it. He's done.
no, he's out. Yeah, got a good job, makes money. Just bought a condo, so yeah, he's doing good.
He needs to give you some grandkids.
Well, no, my daughter did that.
Ah, good.
So I
All
have two
right.
daughters. Yeah, so I have two older daughters, 42
And
and 40
and they live in
in
Texas.
Arkansas. They live in Arkansas.
And nobody's perfect, but
Yeah,
they're close
I know.
by.
We're going up there this weekend, as a matter of fact. See one of them. See one of the grandkids. Oh yeah, but
Nice.
so everybody get your books on Amazon,
Yes.
and can they pre-order the ebook or
Yes.
anything? Okay.
Yes. There is a link. I have to send that link out and put that on the website. These are the things that I got to do.
Yeah.
I'm
So
a little bit behind the 8 ball.
okay. Well, you still got time. Well, excellent, Joseph. It's been a pleasure uh,
Likewise.
talking to you, and I hope you didn't diagnose anything while we were talking.
Never, never.
Don't send me a bill. Uh, so excellent. Well, best of luck on the books, and we'll be
Thank
looking
you.
for
You
you to
too.
great success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.